Cycling for me has never been about the bikes. They've only ever been the prerequisite tool. I do not see just a bike race, I see riders on heroic journeys and warriors doing battle. At one point, cycling was the most popular sport in Europe because newspapers told magnificent tales about epic races and crafted the great champions into legends. But with the advent of television, cycling lost some of its mystique, and that golden age of journalism and narration has perished. So now let us try to return some romance to the beautiful sport. Let us praise and give glory to phenomenal performances to be remembered for decades to come. Let us dwell on the moments that inspire and move us. Let us chronicle the rise and fall of heroes. Let us chart these life-changing journeys, these cycling odysseys. All right, welcome back to another episode of the Cycling Odysseys. I'm your host, Patrick Santino. Today, we are doing the women's elite, actually not just quite just the elite women, spoiler, women's Cyclocross Worlds Preview 2022, Fayetteville, Arkansas. I don't know, I kind of lay it all out there in the preview itself, so there's not much to say before it. So let's just jump in now. Hope you guys all enjoy it. 2022 Women's Elite Cyclocross Worlds Preview. A duel or two to come? To begin this preview, I must preface with a rundown of the races since Nationals weekend. The weekend after Nationals was the Flamanville World Cup in Normandy. Attendance of the favorites was sparse, for the top World Cup rankings were pretty settled by this point, and most favorites took the weekend off in direct final preparation for Worlds. But in attendance were three of the youngsters and rising stars of the sport. Alpecen's Puck Peters of the Netherlands, Paul Salzen's Fem van Empel of the Netherlands, and SD Works Kadavas, the Hungarian. It was a fine race these young riders put on in Normandy. In the final laps, Kadavas fell off the pace and only chased behind, forcing dueling Peters and Van Empel up front not to let up at all. The Peters and Van Empel duel went all the way down to the wire, beyond even fighting to be the first through the last turn on course. Puck Peters angled herself onto the front and came through first onto the final dragging climb that was the finishing straight. She looked to have the power to take the win in a sprint from the front, but Fem van Empel was as cool and collected as when she outsprinted Jumbo's Marianne Vos the Goat at Val de Soleil. Van Empel stayed glued to Peters' wheel around the final turn and followed Peters' final sprinting acceleration. Van Empel then proceeded to come out of the slipstream in the last 100 of meters and on the steepest pitch of the climb. She had just enough power, speed, and room to come through and nab the victory from Puck Peters. Thus, Van Empel took her second World Cup victory of the season, denying the consistent Puck Peters her first victory, even though Peters has had more elite podiums than Van Empel this season. Both are 19, both are Dutch. Surely a rivalry must have been formed. Could we be seeing a Dutch women's version of the men's Mighty Ace rivalry? To be determined. The weekend after Flamanville was the penultimate weekend of racing before the World Championships in Fayetteville, Arkansas, and it was a doubleheader. On the Saturday was the beloved X2O Flandrian Cross at Hama. The female attendance was better than at Flamanville, but the field was not at full strength. Most notably, the new Dutch champion Marianne Vos was absent. The race was quickly broken up early between three, Bellois Trekline teammates Sharon Van Rooy and the world champion Lucinda Brand, and Paul Salzen-Bingel's Denise Betsema. And as per usual, the race was prematurely won in dominant fashion by Lucinda Brand, the world champion, leaving little of interest to report save that Trek teammate Van Rooy beat Betsema in the sprint for second. The fireworks came the next day at Hoogerheide, the traditional closeout round of the World Cup. It was an excellent race between the world champion Lucinda Brand, the three young rising stars at Flamanville, Peters, Van Empel, and Kadavas, and Marianne Vos donning the Dutch champion's kit for the first time in 4 or so years. The race was a thriller. The five formed a relentless quintet on the fair all-rounders Hoogerheide course. All five were evenly matched. As one would attack, two would seem on the ropes, but all would regroup, and one of the two seeming to fade would be the next to launch an attack. But in the closing stages of the race, one rider drove down the hammer and dashed the hopes of all the competitors. And that rider was not Lucinda Brand, the world champion, but instead Marianne Vos, the cannibal, and the GOAT. When Vos attacked with a lap to go, none had a prayer to even respond. Marianne Vos made the steepest rideable hills of the course look flat, while the others were pedaling squares with shattered legs. Vos won this Hoogerheide battle that had 5 legitimate contenders, but things at Fayetteville will be very much different. The Fayetteville course is much more physically demanding and more of a cross-climber's test compared to Hoogerheide, which, as stated, is more a fair all-rounders course with almost a little bit of everything cyclocross has to offer. The Fayetteville course was one of the widest cyclocross courses I had ever seen, with tons of elevation change, but nothing really technical besides one very long staircase. How the course is running exactly compared to the October World Cup will not be fully known until Friday. But beyond the course, we will not see a replay of Hoogerheide, for the start list is being decimated at the time of this writing. The Dutch youngsters Puck Peters and Fem van Empel are opting to ride the women's under-23 race. Perhaps on paper, they figured they'd rather ride for a chance to win than fight for an outside chance or last spot on the elite podium. But the news continues to pour out that COVID, injury, and illness are ravaging both the men's and women's start lists. 777's Marianne Worst, second at Worlds last year, has tested positive for COVID and is out. Ever consistent Denise Betsema is out with some non-COVID illness and will no longer be making the trip to the U.S. Many more minor riders are also out, but the race is already shaping up to be a duel between the only 2 riders to have taken prestigious wins in the last few months. Lucinda Brand is attempting to defend and repeat her world title, and Marianne Vos, the GOAT, is attempting to win an 8th world title 8 years after her 7th, 16 years after her first. At the end of the last women's cross catch-up, I said Marianne Vos was in the role of spoiler, and this race is Brand's to lose. For Brand has looked best on the most physically demanding courses, and she was the previous champion at Fayetteville earlier in the season. Though Vos was arguably on trajectory to win in Fayetteville until a late race crash, in that early season, Marianne Vos was still riding out a peak of road form. It was not until this past weekend's Hoogerheide race that Vos has looked so supremely on great form again. But this weekend she did, to the point that Vos and Brand must enter this Fayetteville Worlds as co-favorites. All signs are converging towards an epic duel, but will it transpire? Or will one blow the other out of the water? Will one sadly and anticlimactically choke? Will mechanical issues mar the pure racing merits? Or will a dark horse crash the party? There are many who could assume the role of spoiler this Saturday. Canada's Maglia Rochette and the Dutch woman Celine Del Carmen Alvarado have shown small glimmers of hope in select races this year. Rochette most notably on the podium at Val di Sole, and Alvarado put up that excellent challenge at GP Sven Nys. Both those courses, especially given the conditions, were extremely physically demanding, but I do not think they quite compare to the demanding elevation changes of this World's course. Thus, I deem the better dark horse candidates are the Hungarian hope Kata Vos and the American home nation hero Clara Hansinger. Both did well on heavy elevation changing courses this year like Overijse and the Koppenberg Cross. But the Achilles heel of all 4 of these dark horses is their incredible inconsistency this season. On their best days, all 4 could easily vie for the podium and even dare to go toe-to-toe with Vos and Brand. But who can predict what sort of performances we shall see from these riders this weekend? Clara Hansinger is the biased hope that I think has the best chance to do well by improving on her 4th place at Worlds last year and with motivation to ride on home soil. But there has been too many races this year where she has simply been buried at the start and with no space to move up to the leaders all race. This course is open and the elevation will have all on the limit early, so perhaps Hansinger's start woes will be avoided. But will she have her hands full, with Kata Vos at least? Thus, I believe at a maximum, we could be treated to perhaps 2 or even 3 women's duels this weekend. Puck Peters and Fem van Empel in the under-23s, though young Sharon van Rooij may crash the party. Voss and Brand at the front for the win in the women's elite, and perhaps even a race within a race for third between some combination of Hodensiger, Cadavas, Alvarado, and Rochette. Time will tell who shall win. All victories will assuredly be well earned, but to inject some favoritism and hoist some colors up the mast, I will not lie. It would be extremely cool to see Marianne Vos the GOAT win an 8th world title 16 years after her first. Such a gap between wins would truly put her in Gino Bartoli territory. Thus, this review is complete. Let us pray for an exciting race. Let us be dazzled and inspired. All right. So, to be clear, I did pin the colors, hoist the colors. I'm a Marianne Vos fan. I'm going to root for dominance. I'm going to root for a good race above all, but that is also why I'm a Marianne Vos fan, is because her wins are usually very exciting, all right? And no offense to Lucinda Brand, great athlete, nice personality from what I can tell, but... And maybe bigger sample size this season, obviously, so that actually kind of counts against her. But her wins have not been as exciting. So I guess I'd rather see Voss win. And that's that. Obviously, I'm pulling for Clara Honsinger, too. But, I mean, some of her starts have been horrendous. So there's no way I would put $1. Definitely not the win. To get the podium, I don't know, maybe I'd put like $10. Actually, I don't bet. So actually, I would not put any money down on anybody. So it's not, that's just, okay. All right. Anyways, that's that. I don't know what else there really needs to be summed up about this preview. It's kind of straightforward. I didn't expect to be watching the women's under 23 race, but I guess I will, because Puck Peters and Van Empel are both actually pretty fun to watch. I think Van Empel's a little bit more fun because she's like more cool and calculating, because the way she won both her World Cup races, I mean, that was maturity beyond her age to remain calm and finish off the job. So I don't know, makings of the champion. Puck Peters has the talent as well. So anyways, that should be a good race too. So I guess I will watch it. But yeah, all right, I gotta finish up the men's, and then then we're all set for Worlds. Here it comes. It's finally here. And then I'll be done with Cyclocross actually, maybe I'll do a wrap up. Anyways, I'm about, the end's in sight for this crazy fortnight of episode releasing on my part. But anyways, thanks to everybody for listening. Follow me on Twitter, Cycling Odysseys. Find the blog post, cyclingodysseys.com. Subscribe to the show. Leave 5-star reviews. Watch on YouTube. Thanks for listening, everybody. Vive la Cyclisme.